Hai guys, welcome back to my channel. Hari ini aku mau bawa kalian jalan-jalan di bawah laut. Kita mau naik kapal selam. Diikutin terus ya guys. Ada ikan lumba-lumba guys.
If that's not the case and you guys enjoyed yourselves today, and you just want to let the world that, hey, that was a fun hour. Models of Submarine, the older ones are smaller, the newer ones are larger. So over on Oahu, we actually have the world's largest touring submarine. It holds 64 passengers, it's 100 feet long. But the number 10 here is 48 passengers and 3 crew members. It's 65 feet long. It's an all-electric vehicle, so it runs on 264 lead-acid golf cart-sized batteries. We charge it just like a cell phone. We have 4 cables, 2 of them are pretty large, 2 of them are larger than a cell phone cable anywhere. Sorry, I'm going to do it that way. And the last bit I have to tell you guys about, number 1, no eating, drinking, or smoking on board the submarine. Leave those items on the boat. And while we're down inside the sub, we do have to keep our masks on at all time. It is recirculated air, so we are going to be rebreathing the same air. We do have filters and whatnot, and it does circulate once every minute, but we still have to keep those masks on. And side, all right? So port side, you guys are going to be going out the back, and starboard side will be coming out the front. So you will be going out the opposite hatch you came down. And side, all right? So port side, you guys are going to be going out the back, and starboard side will be coming out the front. So you will be going out the opposite hatch you came down. Next, roll the port. I did see the statue at the last break. Oh, it's not worth anything. All right, so for a frame of reference, take a look at the front of the submarine. Hello, I'm standing on the port side. So if you guys are seated here on the port side, or if you're seated on this side, you are on the port side. All right, if this is the port side, what does that make this side? The other side, correct, starboard side, yeah. So this side, you guys are on the starboard side. Now, in the back of our submarine, we have it, they'll tell you, but they'll also kind of give you that frame of reference. The one on my shoulder is port, the one over there is on starboard. So you guys can tell which direction of the submarine I'm pointing to, or referencing anyway. Alright, if you have taken a look at your cell phones, you may have realized that we don't have any reception down here. Alright, no cell phone towers at the bottom of the ocean. If you got service down here, let me know which carrier you've got, because I'd really like to switch over to that one. But our VHF radio works pretty much the same way. We do see okay, so they're called taco, right? The Japanese word for octopus is taco, so we see taco a lot, but usually we say it's taco for the pilot, because the pilot is the one that sees them, and by the time they get to the viewports, they're camouflaged. That one was just free swimming and walking along the sand, so I really hope you guys got a chance to see that one. Very cool, very, very cool. I've had a lot of really good luck lately with you guys with these groups here, so whatever you guys are doing, keep it up. The karma has been really great lately. Now, what I was saying earlier, before we spotted that, my pilot let me know about that octopus there, is about the color. So if you guys are curious where the color went, take a look. It eats the animal, and that leaves just kind of a white spot behind. But it depends on the shape. So if it's just like a circle, that's from the crown of thorns. But if it's like spreading or something like that, then it's probably the bleaching. Why is it healthier than most? It's got to do with the ecosystem of Hawaii. We are the most remote island chain in the entire world, so a lot of the things from the rest of the world don't make it over here. So a lot of the pollutants and stuff don't actually make it to Hawaii, not nearly as much. On top of that, our town is called Kailua Kona, right? It means the 2 currents that meet on the west side of the Big Island, basically. So all the weather, that it hits the east side, but it doesn't come around to our side, so it's very calm water over here. It doesn't add to a lot of the erosion and bringing a lot of things in this area. Very large school of fish on both sides of the submarine right now. These guys are called the ta'ape, or the blue-striped snapper. Now, the ta'ape are not from Hawaii, and their name gives away that fact, right? There's no letter T in the Hawaiian alphabet, so the ta'ape were brought over here from Tahiti. This is a really massive school out there. Your pilot's doing a very good job at splitting up that school, making sure you guys both got some. It looks like the much larger school on the starboard side, though. Those ta'ape were brought over from Tahiti on purpose because they were a very good fish to catch over by Tahiti. They grew to be about 4. Remember that scene? Okay, so this is a Disney film, right? So talking animals were probably expected, right? They got talking mouse as their mascot, so why not talking manta rays in a Hawaiian movie? What they were showing you is Hawaiian culture. When your ancestors pass away, they don't just move on to an afterlife, but instead, when you're struggling in your own life, on your own journey, they'll come back to you and give you a sign. They'll come back as one of the animals of the island. Now, what animal they manifest as actually depends on your father's bloodline. So it's the same animal for your whole family, basically. Now, you guys are familiar with King Kamehameha, right? the great king of Hawaii, united the Hawaiian Islands into the Hawaiian Kingdom. His family was the shark family. He came from the Big Island, and the Big Island is where the shark god came from. So his family is from the shark family, and ever since he took over the islands, the majority of people over here claim the sharks as their Amakua. So think about that. If the Hawaiian people consider the sharks to be their ancestors, how do you think they feel about these shark cage diving operations? You see it now, right? That's extremely culturally insensitive. So in 1996, this guy was approached by the local community, and he was told, like, hey, what you're doing is insensitive, you gotta stop, man. He said, there's no law against it, you can't stop me, so I'm gonna do it anyways. So in the middle of a storm, a group of people swam out to this boat and started drilling holes in the bottom of it. It took about 8 hours to sink. In that 8 hours, nobody came out to save the boat, so when the Coast Guard came out to do their investigation, they said, hey man, like, we can't prove it was sabotage, and even if it was sabotage, you didn't try and save your boat. You had 8 hours to come get it, but you didn't do anything. Lady, I think my favorite part of that story is that the husband came back from Alaska. She never told him that she sank the boat. So she waited for him to come back, and he thought that she was forcing his hand for the insurance money to get a much nicer place on land. Remember, she wanted to sell the thing, and he wanted to keep it. So he thought it was her master plan to force him to do what she wanted. So when the Coast Guard did their investigation, he told them that he named his boat after his wife, and he named it the Crazy Lady. So this one, it happened 10 years before the Predator, in 1986. Did you guys see that very large blue green fish over the shipwreck? That's a male parrotfish. The females are kind of a dark reddish brown color. Alright, so we got one last little treat for you guys. We're going to touch down, alright? We're going to touch down on the bottom of the ocean. We're going to land, alright? We got skids underneath us that allow us to do that. Since we're landing in sand, we're not doing any harm to the underwater world. Now that we're on the bottom of the ocean, guys, we're going to go ahead and shut everything off. We're going to open up the hatches. We're going to take a walk, stretch our legs. No, we couldn't do that even if we tried. Because of the pressure differential between the outside and the inside, it would take about 40 tons of force to lift one of the hatches down here. You couldn't do that even if you tried, all right? No, that hissing sound means that we are out of air, so we're going to get back, time. We're out of time, all right? So we're going to get back up to the surface. I was up clicking inside the coral together. Starboard side, you guys can actually see bubbles with Gil. You remember Gil, right? He was the leader of the aquarium tank in the Dentist Aquarium. So he's called a Moorish idol. It's a black and white vertically striped fish with a long thread fin coming off the top there. How did the reef form? So the coral goes through what's called a coral bloom, so they'll reproduce, right? And then the tiny little polyp, called Nadaria, will just kind of float along. It looks like an upside down jellyfish, but it's microscopic, right? So it'll just kind of float along in the water column, and then once it kind of starts to drift down, it finds a rocky substrate or other coral, right? It'll latch on really, really tightly, and then it'll start to secrete calcium carbonate. Once it creates its shell, it'll start to develop that algae within itself. And fish looks a lot like the yellow tank, but it also looks like it's wearing a black mask over its eyes and a long white beak. So it's called the Lau Wili Wili Nuku Nuku Oi Oi, and it beats that Nuku 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 Aku Aha by 2 letters. So that last Oi in its name is longer, right? But while you guys are here in Kona, you have the opportunity to see this fish turn itself all black. Now why it does this, nobody knows. And when I say only here in Kona, I mean only in Kona. If you go anywhere else on this island, it will not turn all black. If you go to any other island, it does not turn all black. And if you go anywhere else in the world, you will not find a black long-nosed butterfly fish. When it turns black, we add LA to the end of its name. LA in Hawaiian is dark or black, right?